Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about Filecoin and going over a long-term outlook on the FIL USD pair as well as the FIL Bitcoin pair. So I'll be talking about some moving averages, some support and resistance areas to watch out for, and my long-term takeaways. If you guys enjoy the content, please do consider leaving a like and subscribing. By the way, this channel is sponsored by the cryptocurrency exchange FTX.us. This is a great exchange where you can buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrencies like Filecoin. And if you sign up with my link in the description below or through my referral code SNOWYCRYPTO, you can get a 5% discount on exchange fees. So it's a great exchange. I would recommend checking them out. All right, so I'm going to start off here on the Filecoin USD pair on the weekly chart. And one of the things that I think is very important to look at first is going to be this red line here, which is the 20-week simple moving average. And the reason we're looking at this is because longer term, this is the level that we've held as resistance and basically been unable to get back above since we lost it all the way back in September 2021, around 50 weeks ago. So this is a level where we've been holding strong resistance. You can see ever since we fell below it back here in September 2021, Filecoin has not been able to get back above this. You can see a rejection right here for a few weeks in October. We came back down from lower lows, had a bounce back up into this level, another rejection. And the same pattern has repeated itself. We've come down to these new lows. We've bounced back up right into this level of resistance. And since then, we have rejected. We have since retraced from this high at $11 by about 44% or so. So definitely a convincing rejection right here. And this is the level that we do want to see reclaimed because, again, as long as we're below this, we're still running the risk of having a lower high right at this region. So consider the fact that today it's at around $8. It will be continuously moving down. And the reason that is because it's averaging the closing price of 20 weeks. And 20 weeks ago, we were really closing prices in this $20 region. So we're averaging down much further down from here. And essentially, this is the level that I do want to see reclaimed longer term to start getting a little bit more bullish. And consider the fact that this would be an extensive process. And if we were to look at the prior bear market, you can see a similar thing where you did have all those rejections right at the 20-week average, and that basically pushed you to lower lows. But when you were starting to round off here and form a longer term bottom, notice how we didn't immediately reclaim and then flip it into support. We basically just oscillated above and below it for several months before ultimately starting that uptrend. So that might be something to watch out for into the next few months if we can at the very least stop rejecting at this level. So another thing to watch out for is going to be this horizontal level. I have this marked in green and it's ranging from around $8 to $9. So let me just remove all these previous drawings, and I really just want to talk about this level as being a very historic and important area of support and resistance. So if we go all the way back here to 2018, you can see in April, this was the level that we had a pretty strong bounce off of. This held as support for a few months, and then we had a nice move back up to around $17. And then eventually we came back below it. We flipped it into resistance, had a rejection. There was another rejection here in June of 2019. And eventually when we broke above it, that was sort of the sign that we were ready to really kick off and elevate the bull market. So do consider the fact that this rejection on the 20-week is also somewhat confluent to this area of horizontal resistance. That is more or less where we have rejected at. And longer term, I do want to see this level reclaimed because as long as we're below this level, to me, there's a pretty high risk that we flip this into resistance and we have some sort of rejection off of here. And if we're looking at the previous cycle, this was a level that basically whenever we rejected off of the $8.50 region, that meant we had a continuation lower to the support level around $2.50. And you can see that actually occurred on both occasions. This rejection here in July of 2018 was followed with a move back down to those lows. Same thing here in July of 2019, we had a retest of this region, and that meant we revisited the lows around $2.50. So basically, it was a range where we oscillated from the highs to the lows and sort of just consolidated from this $2.50 support to the $8.50 resistance. And if something like that were to continue and happen, that would at the very least warrant another 60% decline back down to these lows, which again, something that you don't want to see. And for me, I'm not saying that has to happen. I just think the risk of that happening is quite high as long as we're below this $8.50 region. So now we want to switch over here to the FIL Bitcoin ratio, which I think is extremely important to watch for. And I think it's very important to look at the Bitcoin ratio because it really does a good job at showing you the opportunity cost of holding a certain altcoin. And what I mean by that is if you have dollars invested into Filecoin, those dollars aren't being invested into Bitcoin or another cryptocurrency. And if Bitcoin is outperforming Filecoin or any altcoin for that matter, for me, it just doesn't make sense to hold that altcoin. I would much rather just invest in Bitcoin if I can get a higher return through Bitcoin itself. And look, we've been in a very steep decline against Bitcoin ever since this peak back here in March of 2021. Currently, Today, we're down around 92%, but to these lows, we were down about 95.5%. And this really does present a problem because look, we formed all-time lows. We're at basically the lowest valuation against Bitcoin. We've been in a very steep decline for over the past year and a half now. And for me, that just presents a huge opportunity cost with respect to Bitcoin. You can see this zone in red marked on my chart from around 42,000 to 34,000 Satoshis. And, look, this was a previous level of support. This is where the lows held back here in 2020. This was the longer term area of support where the price action never actually went below this. We had sort of a rounding bottom off of this zone, and we turned around to make another move back up to these highs. But since then, we've actually broken down below this, and we had some sort of rejection right here a few weeks ago. So this does present a lot of warning signs to me. I would like to see this level reclaimed. And if not, it would just look like an underside retest where, potentially we do have a continuation of this longer term downtrend and maybe another lower high, where if we're looking at this longer term trend, we have this peak in March of 2021, the lower highs every few months or so coming down to a level that does fall below the previous high. So I want to see this structure break. I'm not saying this has to continue forever. I'm just saying that, as long as Filecoin is in a downtrend against Bitcoin, for me, it wouldn't make sense to hold it. It would make more sense to just hold Bitcoin. But again, that is just my opinion, not financial advice. I hope you guys did enjoy the content and analysis. Once again, check out our sponsors in the link in the description below. As always, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.